serious. Movie producers are serious.
And like, if you're ever hanging out with like 3 or more drunk ladies, you're gonna wind up at a karaoke bar eventually. There's no way around it. Drunk girls love singing karaoke. But I got news for you, drunk ladies. Nobody wants to hear that.
I worked at a bank for a year out of high school, and that was, I'm so glad I did, because it taught me I'd never want to have a job like this ever again. I worked with a guy named Doug Stanhope for a couple years, and I thought, like, he had a pretty cool thing going, you know, like he just booked all of his own shows, would just go to bars and, you know, have people come, pay $20 to go see him, take all the money and go to the next place, and that seemed like a pretty fun, it's like free, you know, or like freedom, you know.
What price freedom? Well, pretty expensive for most comedians. There's almost 500 shows at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and it costs nothing to enter. Indeed, anyone can sign up and give it a crack.
I would say a fairly small percentage make it to the point where they're going to make lots of money, probably 10% maybe. I would, you know, 50% might break even, and a lot of the newer emerging level of comics, for them it's an investment in the future.
So this next segment is dedicated to my dad. He's not dead, he's just on the roof.
Alice Fraser gave up a promising law career 3 years ago and is still making that investment. On the road 2 weeks of every month, gigging in country towns and RSLs in a bid to make her name. Alice understands she's a business and puts her law background to good use.
You know, I sat down one day and I sort of did all the flowcharts and the outcomes, and I figured out a way to get people into my shows without devastating my heart, which is what a lot of comedians end up doing. It's really heartbreaking, especially in a festival like this where you're competing with 400 or 500 other acts every night to get people in.
So what was the key element of the flowchart at the end of all that process?
I can't tell you, I can't ruin my secret. It's flyering is not as effective as you think it would be.
Yeah, but what I want to say to you is that, you know, the programming for men is that you need to fight or flee if you get picked for a fight by another man, but there are other options available to you. Simple things work with these late night bogans, you know. Distraction. Things like this. What's that?
Australian comedian Asher Trelevin also applies a critical business eye to his act. He was told by a producer that he had the commercial viability of a Rolf Harris wobble board, which meant he had to get on the front foot.
I know how to produce, you know, and I know how to market myself, and I know how to, where to market myself. For me, being able to make a living out of this is spending probably 4 to 6 months on the road touring and producing works in fringe festivals in the summer months in Australia. Then usually I would jump over to the UK and I would work in the UK for 3 to 4 months, and then I would pick up bits and pieces, club gigs, corporate gigs, one-offs in the second half of the year, and then I'd start prepping for another year in the comedy festival world.
Tell me if you think this is a sign of depression. If the only reason you take the sweatpants off you've been wearing for 3 days in a row is to use them as a napkin in bed, is that a sign of depression? Or is that a sign of living the dream? It's hard to tell.
So what would be the best outcome for someone who wants to work in their sweatpants? Making money on the internet, that's what. It's replacing TV as a place to get exposure.
The exposure's good, but it's not like the days of Johnny Carson where you went and did a set on The Tonight Show and then your life changed overnight. Now there's just so much of it out there. I mean, the internet's great for a lot of people, you know. You see, there are a lot of guys who just made some YouTube videos and they got popular and now they have really good careers. Or Twitter, you know, there's a handful of people who have really great careers from just tweeting about their testicles every day.
With a new distribution model, a comedian no longer has only one way to survive, turning gigs like this into a lucrative radio or TV gig. Instead, they can create a niche and find a new way to live.
For middle people, it's just about learning to do as many different things as possible, diversifying learning how to run your own business, learning how to produce, learning how to do all of that sort of stuff. And that will give you the ability to make a living, because people see show business as amateurs and people making billions of dollars. They don't realise that there's this kind of middle class of performers who are all making a comfortable adult living doing show business. It's such a great job, and it always feels very finite. You don't really have security, you don't know when it's going to end, you don't know when you're not going to be funny anymore. There's a lot of pressure on you, so you have a lot of, I guess, a lot of gratitude and joy for the work that you get to do when you get to do it. And there's always a feeling like someone's going to kind of come in and go, can I have a word with you? You know, this is over now. Can I have all of your money and things back and go away and do something that, you know, you don't really like? So I think I really loved it. And when I found out that I could make money from it, that was, you know, great.